concerned about wind turbines and the placement of wind turbines, and it's something that the Minister of Energy is working on, how we can have a better process and how we can work with drilling hosts. So I just want to acknowledge that because it's very much present. So I am so pleased to be here. I think this is it's fabulous that this conversation is happening, and I want to thank Alan. I want to thank Judy for organizing and being here, and Deb Austin. Where's Deb? There she is, Deb Austin from the Huron Chamber of Commerce for having me here and for providing this opportunity for us to chat. And I am going to stay and have a conversation, move around, and meet you after I finish my remarks. So I'm happy to be in Clinton. I have been in Clinton before. I believe Carol Mitchell's daughter had a little ice cream business one summer, right? Yeah, that's right. So I was here. And I know that the Ontario Chamber of Commerce values the huge economic contribution that the agri-food sector makes to our economy. It's extremely important. Al and I were talking about whether it's number one or number two, but it doesn't matter whether it's number one or number two. It's critical to the health of the province, and that's why I'm here, because and that's why I'm the Minister of Agriculture and Food as well as being the Premier. I committed to taking on this role during the leadership because I really believe that it's important for us to shine a light on the importance of this part of the economy. You know, it's not necessarily something that the general population understands, that the agri-food industry is so important to the economy of the province. So I want everyone in the government, I want everyone across the province to understand that agriculture is not just part of who we are, it's not just our roots, but it's also vital to how we're going to build the economy going forward. And I had the opportunity to visit the Conlon farms this morning, so cattle country. And that's a farm that's been in the Conlon family for 4 generations. And Mike and Jennifer Conlon are hoping that their children will want to, or at least one of them will want to carry on after. But the Conlons own more than 1,000 cows. They grow their own corn and hay for the animals. They've been doing this for decades, and I want to be sure that the right conditions are in place, that those kids, Emily, Allie, Peter, and Tom, that whichever one of them or 2 of them want to carry on the farm, that the right conditions are in place for them to do that. And I think that's the role of government, is to work in partnership to make sure that, that those conditions can be in place. So that's why we chose that location for the announcement that I made this morning, and that was that I was on the farm to talk about an innovative new industry-led risk management fund that we're supporting through the Ontario Corn-Fed Beef. What we're doing as a government is investing $10 million toward the fund to help stabilize pricing and to stimulate growth. So it's another one of the kinds of risk management programs that we think can provide stability to the business going forward. So we know that farmers like the Conlons, like the people you know, and many of you, are affected by factors that are outside of their control. And so whether they're market related, the weather, drought, flooding, pests, whatever it is, the agri-food sector can take hits from those events, and so we want to make sure that the tools are in place so that they can manage those risks, just like any other sector. So that's the kind of work that we're committed to doing, to continue to work with the sector to make sure that those tools are in place. And I want those partnerships to be the way we grow the economy, the way we stabilize the industry, so that we can have a thriving industry going forward. I was also pleased on Monday to introduce the Local Food Act in the legislature. I think this is a really important piece of legislation. Again, it's about all the good things that grow in Ontario, but it's also about making sure that the Local Food Act shines a light on our government's comprehensive local food strategy, that we get more local food on people's plates. I actually think that the public is ahead of us on this. I actually think the population of Ontario wants to buy local food. They want to know where their local food is. They want to be able to access it. And so when they go into a grocery store, they want to be able to pick up the food that is grown closest to to them. They don't want to think that their food has to come either across an ocean or across a continent. They want to be able to buy locally. So whatever we can do to encourage local food, that's what we're going to do. And it's partly about public information, it's partly about a public education campaign, but it's also about investing dollars in initiatives, in innovation, so that businesses can thrive. So it's not just about an education initiative. So I think it presents huge opportunity to have this kind of partnership in place. And actually, I think it's amazing that we don't talk more about agriculture and food in the province. It's actually really surprising to me as a politician over the last decade that there hasn't been more general conversation. I know when I was first elected, John Wilkinson brought me out to his riding, to Ag 101. We did that for, I think we did it for 7 years. Where we exchanged. We brought people from his riding into the city. We took people from the city out into his riding. And we did that because we wanted to make those connections real, even if on a small scale. But what is amazing to me is that an industry that has almost 3,000 businesses, so food and beverage businesses, that's 1/3 of the country's total. More than any other province, and as I said, $34 billion in contribution to the GDP, over 700,000 jobs, exporting $10 billion in product, that we don't have a more general consciousness of that industry, I think that's the challenge that we're confronting right now. So I want to be part of changing that and making it much clearer to the people of Ontario, the challenges that you face and what we can be doing together. So I have said all along, Ellen talked about my value system. My approach is to find common ground. It's to find common purpose, to work in partnership. That's what the Ontario Corn-Fed Beef Risk Management Fund and the Local Food Act are about. They're about working together to set targets. For example, if we talk about local food, what are the targets that we can set as government to make sure that our ministries are, when they're procuring food, that they're using local as one of the screens that they go through. So I want to stress to members across government that that's got to be a focus. We also have some issues that you're facing that are not related to food. We're facing them together. Here in Clinton, for example, I know that you know that the future of horse racing is something that's top of mind. And you know that we've reached a tentative transition funding agreement with the Clinton Raceway. But we're committed to a sustainable horse racing industry in the province. We're making progress. And today I mentioned at the Conley's Farm that we've made 3 additional agreements for transitional funding with Flamborough Downs, Georgian Downs, and Fort Erie. So that's 9 tracks with which we have transitional agreements, and that's a very good thing. That's a good piece of progress towards that sustainable industry that I've been talking about. We're hoping to get more local tracks on board and ready for the spring season, and we'll continue to work with them to come up with those agreements. But we need a new market-driven model that will be good for the industry, that will make the industry sustainable over time, and will also be good public policy. So that's what the panel recommended to us. Elmer Buchanan and John Snowblin and John Wilkinson, they recommended to us that smaller but a more sustainable market-driven industry. So that's what we're working on. So I know you've had a full morning of discussing challenges and opportunities in the agri-food sector. I really look forward to hearing your ideas. I think we can all agree that we want agri-food and agri-products to be able to adapt and respond quickly to challenges. I said in the House yesterday when I introduced the legislation that this includes food processors. You know, sometimes when we talk about agri-food, we think about farmers, but we don't necessarily talk about processors. And market opportunities, we want to strengthen our communities and our economy. I want to hear your suggestions. I've met with stakeholders, and last week I met with a broad group of stakeholders in the agri-food sector to talk about the National Growing Forward 2 agreement that was just signed yesterday. And that'll help us leverage significant federal investments over the next 5 years, because the partnerships work from the provincial government to the sector, but also to the federal government. We have at least a three-way conversation going on. And I know that many of the industry's suggestions are already being incorporated into the future of the industry, from flexibility to modify programs over time, to one window approach to applications, and we heard all about those when I sat down with stakeholders. And I think there's been good input from the sector into the new agreement. So that kind of discussion is having results. There's been a bit of a joke about my language around having conversations, but the fact is, if we talk to each other and if we hear each other's concerns, then we can change policy so that it will work better. So I've heard many times about one window and how people from the sector need to work across ministries, and working with 10 different ministries is made much easier if we can have a one window approach and there can be a streamlining of those processes. So we're taking that very seriously, incorporating that into how we go forward. So I look forward to talking with you. I look forward to hearing your concerns, and please know that I am committed to advancing this sector, understanding that if we're going to grow the economy, making sure that the second largest manufacturing sector, which is agri-food, contributes and is healthy and is able to be sustained. So thank you very, very much for everything that you do every day, and thank you for having this conversation and for your input. Thank you.